Welcome to Amplify Purpose with a little P, your guide to living with intention, presence, and authenticity. Get ready for powerful conversations that'll help you uncover your unique path to purpose, taking it one mindful step at a time.
Welcoming you, Suleman, to our podcast, Amplify Purpose with a Little P. Thank you for joining us. And I know you're very busy. And just for the record, we're recording on a Sunday because this is the only time Suleman has at this moment. Would you
Good.
like to introduce yourself to the audience a little bit so that they understand who you are, what you've been doing, and I guess how purpose has shaped what you've been doing?
Thank you, first of all, Pong, for having me on board here. It's a pleasure to be part of this purpose of yours, the purpose with a small p, and what you hope to achieve out of launching Amplify. I think it's a very noble cause, and thank you for having me here with you today. As far as I'm concerned, I've been very blessed to have lived in different parts of the world, born and raised in Thailand, and then having had the privilege of studying at such a young age with more than 100 nationalities, and then taking that experience and moving to the States for 16 years, where getting the opportunity to study best practices, innovations in in an environment that is very fast paced, allowed me to grow very quickly, not only to survive, but also thrive. And it's those experiences that then enabled me eventually to have worked in 5 different industries and then consulted with 11 other industries across multiple continents. And that's what has shaped who I've become today. And then the opportunity to build organizations that today are valued at billions of dollars. This, I believe, has been a privilege and honor of all the opportunities I got since childhood. So today I run my own firm, consulting firm, and we are getting deeper and deeper into technology product development as well. That's another line of business. And then of course something I'm most passionate about is coaching, counseling, but now more in the context of coaching at the moment. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And for our listeners who might not know what coaching is and how it's different from counseling, how would you describe it?
In a layman's terms, there's a difference between coaching, counseling, and mentoring. And in the most layman terms, I could tell you that coaching is somewhere where we ask the right questions to people to help them find the answers. We don't give them the answers, but we need to know how to ask them the right questions so they're able to identify solutions themselves. And we have to be able to understand what is their value system, how they think. And then based on that, we ask the questions that help them find solutions to their problems. Counseling is more about directing a thought process, telling them what they need to do, perhaps how they need to do it. So there's a very big difference between both. My focus very much has been on helping people identify what inspires them, what motivates them, and then help them find the solutions rather than me telling them what to do.
Understand. Thank you for sharing. And based on your experiences that you shared, both in terms of growing up and working, do you find that there are differences in terms of the Western or the Eastern narrative on purpose and values?
Yes, I think they are very different. Ultimately, all of us are driven by a purpose in our life. Many people, by the way, that even I talk to still don't know what their purpose in life is.
Oh,
And I'm
really?
talking about people that have hit their 50s, 60s, and have spent an entire career doing something that never really made them happy. And that made me realize the concept of self love as well, that about how limited self love they had, how
Mm,
limited self awareness they had. So basically, they were living a life seeking endorsement from others rather
mm,
than living for what, you know, they want to live for and what makes them happy. So I found that to be very interesting. And the way I look at purpose universally, the rule is basically it's an intersection of what we call passion and impact.
Okay.
So what I'm passionate about, maybe it would be different for what someone else is passionate about,
Mm,
right? So it's my passion and the impact that I may have as a result of that passion. Passion manifests itself in two different ways. One is internally, it manifests
mm,
itself. And the other one is externally. When we talk about the internal manifestation, we're really looking at a fulfillment, a personal fulfillment.
mm,
For example, when we're facing a significant challenge, but we believe in that purpose, we push ourselves. We keep
mm,
pushing ourselves because we believe in that purpose. If one of the things that we value is hard work with integrity, and we know regardless of how hard we need to work, we'll work hard to overcome that challenge because that purpose internally is driven by our value system.
mm,
So we will work to fulfill that. So that's the internal manifestation. The
mm,
external manifestation in finding purpose is as a result of me doing this, what impact is it going to have on others? So what that can be on an individual, on a group, on a company, on a community, we need to be very clear that what is my purpose? And when I get an idea of that purpose, it drives me intrinsically and extrinsically. So I
understand.
found that the concept of purpose is universally the same. The motivations and drivers of what we want to do in our life is different because of culture, religion, society. So in the West, for example, what I did notice was that it's a very individualistic society.
Mm,
So it's all about what I aim to achieve in my life.
mm,
I would go out of the way to make sure I can achieve what I want to do. It's
mm,
more individualistic, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a
mm,
difference. My value system has taught me differently. I grew up in an Asian society as a third culture kid where family was always a priority.
okay.
So for me, my career decisions had a lot to do with ensuring it doesn't impact my family life. It doesn't impact my mother, my sister, my nephew, my brother. They were the most important part of my life. So my purpose revolved around ensuring I do something that would not only earn me decent money, but will also give me the reputation and at the same time be aligned with my passion so that I can make an impact and contribute to the well being of my family and the community I live in.
Mm,
That's where I see a difference. And it's
mm,
been very interesting. In my life, I never made a decision based on money. I have always looked for the alignment of the purpose of the company and the purpose of mine. And where money was not involved, what I've realized over the years is because the purpose was aligned to my value system, which was looking for an opportunity for growth, development, and working with good people, ethical people, I learned so much living in. So I've worked in Iraq during the war. I
wow.
was there for a couple of weeks. I was there in the Arab Spring in Egypt. I worked in Afghanistan. I was in Pakistan during a wave of suicide bombings. I
Mm,
had close skirmishes in these,
mm,
but it never took away from my drive for why I was there.
okay.
I was never scared of death. I was always like, okay, I'm here for a purpose. I made great friends in Iraq, in
Mm,
Egypt, wonderful, fantabulous people.
mm,
Contrary to everything the media may say, these countries have wonderful people, wonderful countries. This is such a blessing in
mm,
life, right?
mm,
I learned in these countries, money has no value in comparison.
wow.
It's that experience that has made me who I am today.
Mm,
It's brought in empathy, compassion,
mm,
understanding, trust. I've learned to understand people. And interestingly, not focusing on money has ensured that what I have learned and been exposed to has shaped my passion, has shaped my purpose. And that is today, interestingly, giving me enough money to
mm.
lead a decent life.
That's
So I always tell people, don't work for the money, work for the purpose, and
mm,
money will come chasing you. And consequently, in the latter half of my years, I happen to work with business leaders, people that I reported into, CEOs, and others that completely lacked the sort of value system that was aligned to mine.
mm,
Respect for people, fairness,
mm,
honesty, things like that. And I knew immediately this is not the place where I want to be.
mm.
They Some of these places paid me very good money, but I walked away from those jobs without
Understand.
zero regret, no regret, but contentment, peace of mind that I did what was right.
Wow.
And most importantly, my faith in God
Yes.
ensured that anytime I was making a decision of this nature, I knew that God is with me. God
Yes.
will help me.
Yes.
My mother's prayers are with me. My
Yes.
mother's prayers will help me. And you know what? Every single time it has helped. Her. Where I am today in my life is a consequence of those prayers and
Yes.
those decisions that I made in life. I
Yes.
hope I answered your question.
Good. And you answered it at a level that is so deep. And it's even your reference to God or whatever power our listeners might believe in. I think there is this universe that supports and guides us. And I think perhaps the guidance is through our passion and purpose and our values. And hearing from you and hearing about your trade offs, I think it's an affirmation that if we pursue our purpose, then everything will sort out itself. And I just had a discussion with one of our board members. And I just updated her about where I am personally and also with the direction of our social enterprise. And one thing that I told her was that I feel comfortably uncomfortable, right? And I think why I said that was I know I'm following my heart. I know I'm following my purpose. I know things are ambiguous and uncertain, but I feel very supported and left and right, including yourself, Suleman. You've shown up and lean in. And I feel when we follow our calling and purpose, I think things happen, good things happen. So I'm really
Yeah.
grateful for this conversation and how you conveyed it. It touched me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Wow. I I hear this thing, right? Both from people who are in their 30s, 40s, as well as maybe first jobbers as well, or even people who have dropped out of universities. Like I just met the parent of someone who's just dropped out of Harvard because she felt like she couldn't learn as much as she felt working with her mom on an entrepreneurial journey would. And I feel like what is our guidance for people, regardless of their age or tenure, on discovering and manifesting their purpose?
Honestly, there are multiple answers to this, but I think that part of it has to do with the era we live in and the generation. So, for example, when you and I were growing up, a lot of that was guided by our parents, and our parents so pretty much dictating and telling us what to do.
Mm,
And our value system, which taught us respect what your parents say, understand that they have our best interest at heart. So we might not agree with it, but let's do it because
mm,
our
mm.
parents know better. Times have changed.
Okay.
And this generation where we are today is one that is more intrinsically driven, perhaps more individualistic in their thought
Mm,
process. And due to the massive exposure that they have, thanks to various forms of media,
mm.
it's the negative side is the plethora of information available to them,
Yes.
may potentially confuse them about what
Yes.
options they should take. On the contrary, those kids that are more clear about their purpose or what they think is their purpose, they're
Mm,
willing to explore. They're willing to
mm,
take risk. They take chances because they come from a generation that is to some degree more entitled than what you and I were,
Mm,
right? Our parents what was the generation that initiated the growth of family structure
yes.
and brought in financial input. We brought in financial stability. This next generation now is more entitled in the sense that they know they have something as a backup. They have more choices to choose from
Mm,
as compared to what we did. So they're willing to take more risks as a
mm,
result. And until you don't take risks, you'll never be able to explore and understand your purpose. So you have to be willing to be courageous and take
okay.
those chances, which this generation is doing. I've had 3 to 4 conversations with my friends' kids,
Okay.
especially when friends asked me, they said, you know what, you have a good relationship with our kids. They listen to you.
Mm,
Please tell them they need to go to college.
okay.
Okay. And when I talk to the kids, say, you know what, we will go to college, but we find college to be expensive, time consuming, and we don't want to put that pressure on our parents. We're going to do
Oh,
our work.
oh,
We have enough skill. We know the basic skills. We'll get jobs online.
sure.
We earn in dollars. We're going to
Mm,
save up. And then we will study and get the skills that we want to get. We're not out there to get a basic
understand.
degree or we want to learn skills.
Yes.
And the reality is, this is where the world is turning today. It's
Yes.
more about skills than degrees.
Yeah.
So, as parents, we need to understand that the way the next generation views purpose and passion is different from what ours is.
Sure.
And it doesn't make them wrong. It
Mm,
just means that we need to adjust the way we think. Going
mm,
back to your question about your friend and going to Harvard, she finds her purpose far bigger than going to a university at the moment.
yes.
Study theories and frameworks and concepts. She wants more realistic, on the ground, practical experience. And
Mm,
there's nothing wrong with it.
yeah. Yeah, I love how you say it. I also love how you actually have good relationships with your family and also with the children of your friends. Because I've met a few folks, and one of the guys who seeded this idea of purpose with a small p had his 2 daughters went to ISB, the same international school that you and I went to. And you know how the third culture kid and international schools kids, we can be quite independent and quite a handful. But a couple of things that shape why I decided to do purpose and amplify and purpose with a small p was that when I asked this gentleman what was his view on purpose, and he said he didn't believe that it was like a big thing like solving world hunger or making health and well-being a basic human right like what I'm trying to do. He believes purpose is just what makes us wake up every day with a smile in our heart and on our face and allowing us to be present and be the best version of ourselves at that present. And I thought that was so beautiful. And he has a great relationship with his 2 daughters who are studying in the US, and he talks to them once every day or maybe once every 2 days. So it's
Yeah.
feel, and in contrast, I also have some friends who I see them putting in the effort to raise their children and trying to connect. But somehow there's a misunderstanding or a loss in translation. And how you frame it is that the world is different. Our kids that are growing up, I think they also know, and they don't want to be, like you say, a burden. And they also know that what the parents know as best in their context and generation is no longer the best thing now.
Yeah.
And after talking to you, I will have deeper conversations with my friends and I'll share. Even though myself, I don't have any kids, but I do value what the new generation brings. And I'm actually very optimistic in the sense that, yes, like you say, a lot of them born into privilege or have earned their privilege through maybe the intergenerational wealth building. And I think they have options and they're able to take risks. And I think that means that it's a potential to be tapped into, right, by themselves, not anyone else. And if they can find their purpose, however way they find it, I think it's really powerful. And I think I actually believe the world will be better.
Yeah, it's interesting. Many organizations today, and I've been a part of some of these conversations, even at the
Sure.
boardroom level,
Okay.
where there's discussion of the future talent
Yes.
pipeline coming into the
Yes.
market.
Yes.
Okay. And we look at Gen Zs, we look at Gen Alpha that will soon
Fast.
beat the market as well, and I see these organizations very big, and then these men sitting there who have 30
Yeah.
years, 40 years experience, and they think they know it all. They think that they've built these large empires, so no one needs to tell them what to do
Sure.
because they built this empire. So they've done it, obviously.
Mm.
And there are too many examples out there of some Fortune 500 companies that went bust
Yes.
for different reasons. So one of them was the lack of innovation, the lack of right talent coming into the
Mm.
company, and I'm seeing that today as well,
Mm.
that there are some great name companies where the younger generation of good talent refuses to work there. And when you talk to that talent, this Gen Z, they say, we're not looking to work for the money. We're looking to work for the purpose. How
Mm.
much of it is aligned with us? They don't like the idea of people working in these rooms. They want open spaces. They
Sure.
want more engagement. They want more trust and empowerment.
Sure.
They say, give us a goal and then give us the space to achieve that goal. Don't interfere and come in and start telling us how to do our work. Don't like to work that way.
Mm.
The older generations are struggling to let go of the idea of control.
Okay.
So consequently, this younger generation is opting not to work in organizations, but either running their own entrepreneurial interventions
Sure.
or working freelance. And
Mm.
globally, we have seen this phenomena as well.
Yeah.
The good talent is saying, forget bureaucratic structures of working in organizations where
Yes.
the older folks want control. We don't want that. So what's happening is we're seeing a global shift in organizations at one time that were considered untouchable and today are more vulnerable because
Mm.
of pre-existing cultural nuances, bureaucracy, lack of good talent pipeline coming in is
Mm.
impacting these organizations.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I've just far too much of this where organizations are, because of fear, I hate to say it this way, sheer arrogance as well,
Sure.
that they're not willing to acknowledge what this new generation brings. And I'd like to credit a company like Xerox, which
Mm.
many years ago, after they nearly went bankrupt as
Yes.
well, but
Yes.
one of the changes they brought in culture was they started something called reverse mentoring,
Okay.
where the young generation of fresh graduates came in and would mentor the C level.
Okay.
And through that mentorship, the C level was understanding what this young generation wants in the form of how they work, what they work on, and even input into product development.
Okay.
And that became a significant insight to help the organization transition into the 21st century. And other companies have tried this.
Sure.
It's been very mixed results because there's things like experience, ego, other considerations that come into place where then the older folks say, this generation doesn't know what they're talking about. My experience has been very different. I really enjoy working with that young generation,
Okay.
but I know I have to really challenge my own notion, my own
Okay.
way of thinking as well.
Okay.
And every time they say something, I start thinking, okay, what is it in for them that they're saying what they're saying?
Sure.
What drives them? What motivates them? Now, their value system may be different, but is it wrong?
Mm.
And I realize it's not wrong. It's just
Okay.
different.
Excellent.
And I've noticed that this is the same young generation that when they realize that there's an older, experienced person who's giving us the platform to express ourselves, listens to us,
Mm.
and is willing to take a chance on us. I've noticed this is the same young generation that says, you know what? We'd love to work with you, work with us. And then they respect you at a whole different level
Yes.
because there's mutual respect.
Yes.
It's not one-way respect, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
and so I have learned so much from the way this generation thinks.
Okay.
And I realized my time is up. But if I want to survive
Mm,
and I want to thrive and grow my business and impact other people's lives, it starts with me. It
sure.
starts with how I think. It starts with me being more open-minded
Mm,
in accepting different views and a different way of thinking.
wow. Yeah, I think it's really powerful what you're saying.
It's interesting when I look at what I want to do next in my life. I
Yeah.
have 4 to 5 goals,
Okay.
like what I would want to do in my life. But one of them is I've had the privilege of being part of a couple of profit and nonprofit boards.
Sure.
My aim has been the same throughout is work with the right intent,
Mm,
the sincere intent of actually making a difference in people's lives, one step at a time. I've even
mm,
had this question posed to me in a boardroom that
mm,
what would you as an individual do? You
mm.
can't change a society.
Yes.
And my answer was, I don't have to change a society. I can start with one individual,
Yes.
and that one individual can change his or her family,
Yes.
and that one family can change their extended family. The
Yes.
extended family can change the society, and the
Yes.
society can change a nation's destiny.
I agree. I agree.
So it's crap when people say, oh, what are you going to do at an individual level? I have numerous examples in my life
Mm,
where I have played a role as a mentor, or I've known someone else who played a role of a mentor, and what an impact it had on the mentee's life and their
yes.
family.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that there is no excuse for boards to focus solely on profit only.
Sure.
Not, it's a very short term, it's a very short term, narrow minded vision where
Mm,
you look at just money and growth. We have to understand that if you treat people well and you help people align their purpose with the organization's purpose, it's a win win on both sides.
yeah.
You increase retention, you increase productivity and efficiency as well. This is one of the things that I'm going to continue to advocate at the
Thank
board
you.
level as
Please
well.
do. Please do.
Yeah. So
And yeah, I think what you shared is really powerful because I agree we cannot change the system. And I think I have tried and I have failed. And now I really believe in about, yeah, working with individuals, right? And groups of individuals. And at the end of the day, they need to have their intrinsic motivation to change. And we're just there to help facilitate.
yeah, it's important. I'd like to interject here with something that you just said that
Mm,
I've tried and I've failed. And I often tell this to people that there is no such thing as failure when the intent was there to help and make a positive impact.
thank you.
You know what difficult times actually do is they deepen our purpose by
I think
adding,
so.
wisdom and empathy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it actually deepens our purpose,
I
you
think
know,
so too.
and until and unless we don't make those mistakes are, it's more like a training towards eventually achieving our purpose. Right? Do you know?
I think so too.
I hope I'm not getting too deep into this,
Oh, please go deep.
but I've always observed setbacks as an opportunity for growth. I was extremely close to my father. He was
Mm,
my rock in every way, but I lost him 17 years ago.
sorry for that.
And I look at life and I say, he had to go
Mm.
for me to grow up and become a man. And
Oh,
part of that purpose became the purpose that my father would have had is a God given privilege to me to
mm.
fulfill that purpose of his life as well.
Oh,
So I very
wow.
nicely was able to align my purpose
Wow.
with my father's purpose, along
Wow.
with the things that I had goals in my own life.
Understand.
Those setbacks, those obstacles become a part of our story of life.
Yes.
they become key ingredients that drive us towards achieving our purpose.
Yes.
So I always say, never use the word failure. It only learns.
It don't learn. Yes.
What do you think?
I agree. And I agree from it, not from a theoretical or academic standpoint. I do feel having had this learning experience, to use your vocabulary, I'm more realistic, I'm more mindful, and I am more open to saying I don't know all the answers. And I'm also open to reflecting that how may have tried it in the past might not necessarily be the most sustainable or most productive way of doing it. And I think the intent was always there, the purpose was always there, but how it manifested. If I do have the benefit of hindsight, there was a lot of ego. There was a lot of other people have failed. I will not do that. And now it's like, I'm humbled. I'm like, oh, please help me. And in a way, it's really funny. Bits and pieces of what I did now have been broken up into several programs, right? I don't even want to call them projects because they're too big. And now building around these programs, and there are people that naturally come up in my heart and in my head that they should be involved in the program. And when I reach out to them, they go, yeah, why not? It sounds good. I trust you. I know your intent is pure and you really want to do this, right? So I feel, yes, that the learning has been good.
This is a way of life as well. To think the way the discussion that we're having is also a way of life.
Yes.
And the reason why I say this is because when you look at this as a way of life,
Mm,
it brings in a lot of contentment as well,
yes.
because
Yes.
you're focused on the things that matter
Yes.
and you look at setbacks only as temporary obstacles, but your purpose remains clear.
Yes.
And you just know that, okay, these obstacles that come in the way, I just have to remove them, but they're going to a learning experience in my life as I go, and I'll become wiser, mature as well. When you start looking at life like that, it really helps to bring a calming effect into your life. For example, I was part of an organization and we built the organization and we fought COVID across the entire UAE, right? And the company went on to grow to a very large company, and the company got a lot more contracts from the government. This was a joint team effort. And consequently, of course, the way I was being compensated was very nice as well. It was a very attractive package for me in every way. But
Understand.
there came a time where both my mother and sister got unwell and they were in another country. And so it was a choice between continuing to grow and prosper in my career and grow financially versus potentially not being there for the people that mattered to me the most in life. And it was such an easy decision. I didn't have to think about it for a second. I knew what my heart, my mind, my soul wanted.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, interestingly, I walked away. I told my company I can't even stay. So you want to do all the deductions, you want to deduct whatever you need to from my final settlement. I lost a lot financially, but it didn't even matter to me. Not because I come from a rich family or something, not at all. But it was about understanding that there's a bigger purpose than that money. And
Wow.
that purpose is the survivability of my family.
Yes.
And it took me nearly 2 years after that to figure out what is it that I really want to do. Okay. And in those 2 years, I didn't want to work with people that I knew were not good people. They worked for money or there was some evil intent behind it. I didn't work for such people. But not earning at that time and just living with my savings still gave me the most contentment I could have ever sought.
That's great.
I would go to bed at night knowing the privilege of taking care of my family
Wow.
and the faith that if I do the right thing, doors will open up for me in the future
Yes.
where I can make up for this loss.
Yes.
As I always tell people, conviction,
Mm,
perseverance,
mm,
trust the process, have
mm,
clear intent,
mm.
and nothing can stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. Where I am today and what I can choose to do is a privilege to where I can choose who I want to work with now.
Understand.
And I can earn whatever little I do,
Sure.
but I earn it with a lot of happiness that I'm doing
Understand.
what's aligned with my purpose.
Understand.
And that has brought so much peace into my life. I'm not seeking validation from anyone. I don't need anyone's validation about becoming the next billionaire or opening up a large company. No, what
Mm,
matters is my family's happy. I'm content. I sleep in peace at night.
that's
There's
great.
no bigger gift
Yeah.
than
Yes, I agree. I think peace of mind and the spiritual wholeness, I think, yes, it's priceless. And we talk a little bit about privilege. And sometimes when I have these conversations and people will say, oh, because you are privileged or because X is privilege and you can make
yeah.
these choices. What do you feel about that point of view?
If pardon me, but I think it's BS.
Okay.
I think it's a convenient excuse for those people to say that you come from a privileged background. That's why you can do this. I respect what they may feel. However, there are many people who come from privileged backgrounds I know that have no purpose in life, that I know many who are doing drugs, who drink their life away, who are miserable. They live in big houses, drive nice cars,
Mm,
but are in dysfunctional relationships, both with their partners or with their kids or with their parents. You go
understand.
into a house that doesn't feel like a house. You are miserable internally. Your relationships externally suck with
Mm,
people within your own family and outside.
mm,
What does that have to do with privilege? At the same time, I look
mm,
at someone like my dad
mm.
who lost everything as a child, lost everything and had to work as a farmer as a 4-year-old and
Wow.
had to spend a lot of time in labor, doing jobs to support his family, only
Mm,
to then go on to get a government scholarship to study throughout.
wow.
And he came from an economic background that was very difficult to survive, but his
Sure.
sheer willpower and his purpose
Mm,
drove him to do things that eventually enable the next generation like us
mm,
to benefit from all his sacrifices. So I think that if you have clarity and purpose and have a passion as well,
mm,
your economic class
mm,
may, for example, if you're from a lower class, for example, it
sure.
may be more challenging, but
Mm,
it's not impossible. And
mm.
you and I know numerous examples
Yes.
of people who came from different economic backgrounds and how far
Yes.
along they've come.
Yes.
So I just find that as an excuse to say why we can't make it in life is because you have privilege and I don't. I think
Mm,
that's BS.
mm. Understand. Yeah. It was very interesting because on this particular point, right, I do ask people I have conversations with, not just on the podcast, but the people who are interested in purpose for themselves or for their organizations. And another individual also said it this way. If you have your purpose, then your body, heart, and soul knows it's the right thing. And it's the thing that allows you to excel and outperform I don't want to say outperform others. I would like to say outperform your older version where you
Yeah.
have less purpose. And I think it was powerful.
Yeah. And you understand the concept of having a growth mindset, right?
Yes.
Growth mindset transcends any societal strata.
Mm,
That comes down to the individual.
mm,
So those that lack a growth mindset are usually the ones that get left behind,
sure.
that get stuck in the rut of everyday life
Yes.
and then complain about not having growth in their life, not having any purpose other than a 9 to 5 job and a monthly paycheck.
Sure.
But those are choices people make.
Yes.
I've had these discussions with various people as well,
Yes.
that if you hate your 9 to 5 job, if you hate that monthly salary, what are you doing to change that? And the general answer is circumstances don't allow me to do that. Well, you know what? That's what distinguishes them from someone else who's got the growth mindset to understand that this is not the life I want to live. And if anyone's going to change that, I have to change that. So that starts first with the individual.
Yes.
And when we get more into that discussion, that's when I begin to realize that these folks, many of them don't have the requisite level of self-awareness. And if that self-awareness of what they can actually do
Understand.
is if it's not there, you look deeper and you realize there's a missing element of self-love as well. So they're all interconnected. Self-love, self-care, self-awareness. These are key ingredients that help us build towards our purpose. And that purpose then quells our passion. It's all so interlinked. But
I'm glad you put it that way, because I've been doing my own self-love, self-care, and I think it's definitely aligned with my purpose, and I think it's powerful. I think it's also why I told our board that I'm comfortably uncomfortable, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I wonder if we should ever be comfortably comfortable.
good point.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good point. Yes. I
The
think
day we
that will
become
be the day
comfortably,
when maybe we're past our growth mindset stage.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. We fall in this pit of comfort. I find myself often asking the same question, that do I always need to be uncomfortably comfortable? Isn't there a point where you just want to be comfortable? And my answer to myself was that it's periodic. Allow yourself the privilege to be comfortably comfortable because you've
Sure.
earned it.
Yes.
But at the same time, understand that don't make it a habit, which is tricky. It's very tricky.
It is.
Once you get used to the comfort of being comfortably comfortable, it's very difficult to become uncomfortable again.
True. It's quite interesting that the conversation came to this way. It almost comes back to privilege again. The privilege
Yeah.
of being comfortably comfortable, then it could become a baggage as well, right?
Yeah. But if we look at, I don't mean to give examples from North America or something of large companies, but you look at guys like Steve Jobs, who did not come from a privileged background.
Yes.
It was a very average family that he came from.
Yes.
But if you notice that throughout his life, he remained uncomfortably comfortable. That drove what he eventually became so passionate about. And till this day, we hardly have individuals that had his type of mindset.
Yeah. True.
Constantly remaining uncomfortable allowed him to keep challenging his own boundaries. And he kept crossing that. And the bar of excellence, he kept raising it
Yes.
more and more.
Yes. And in a
I think-
way, he didn't just raise it for himself. I think because he raised it for himself, he raised it for others as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So that's what we talk about, the impact that you end up having to when we started this conversation with what manifests that purpose, right? It's internal and external. So this exactly answers this question. That his internal manifestations drove and resulted in significant contribution externally as well.
Yes. Yes. Wow. I feel so warm. And I don't think it's just the aircon temperature. I think it's the conversation. And then thank you. And is there any last ideas or advice or points of view you want to share with our listeners before we call it a day?
Yes, I'd like to ask you, a question
Yes.
that
Sure.
what you're working towards. I really enjoyed the podcast with Mr. Eugene as well, and
Mm,
him being the first chief purpose officer in India as well.
yes.
I had the privilege of talking to him as well and really enjoyed that conversation I had with him.
Okay.
So while he's the chief purpose officer, you're doing this at a very macro level with
Yes.
integrating this into our lifestyle
Yes.
as well and the way of thinking.
Yes.
What do you intend to achieve from doing
Mm,
this?
sure. My view, I think, was quite simple. It was just something that I felt that as our social enterprise had challenges. I thought, oh, is there something that I can do to help light the fire or the passion in more private sector business leaders? So, end of 2024, I started this concept of Chief Purpose Officer as a Service. And I talked to a lot of friends in the business world, as well as personal friends that share this interest in making a difference in the world. For me, my big P purpose is making health and well-being a basic human right, so more affordable and accessible to more people. And I was hoping that if I have more of these conversations with individuals and organizations, that some of them would say, oh, I also want to join this bandwagon that Suebpong is on. And it doesn't necessarily need to be just health and well-being, because the more we look in health and well-being, there are various intersections, right? With climate change, with the environment, with AI and technology, with leadership styles and the sharing or the usurping of power. So that was my narrative until I met my friend Paul, and he introduced me to purpose with the small p. And then I thought, oh, wow, this is really powerful, because I think it talked to my intrinsic reasons why I want to drive all this. And so I thought, oh, if the goal is not necessarily the big P purpose, but it's the small p purpose, then having this podcast and having people like you, Eugene, Nikon, who are in tune with what we're talking about, have seen it, have done it in the private sector, have also seen it and done it for yourself, as well as others you have coached and mentored. I think it's a very powerful message that could get out there. And I feel that if everyone finds their purpose, and just imagine like this becomes like this magic potion that you take. And once you take it, you're 10x more engaged, more productive, more present in your personal and professional life. I think we're unlocking so much potential in this world. And then the problems that we are seeing, whether it's access to healthcare, whether it's livelihood, whether it's social economic injustice, racial injustice, I think all those things will be solved. I have no
Yeah.
doubt. We are in the age of abundance. We have so much resources out there. Now we have AI, we have the distributed Web3 technology and governance. I think we have all the tools, we have all the resources, but yet
Yeah.
we're having so much social economic problems, injustices, inequity. So imagine if we as a collective, and I don't really see this as my initiative, and that's what I told everyone I've talked to, including yourself now, that it's not Sapong's initiative. I'm just here to start it, or I don't even want to say start it. I think there are other people who have started and continued this. And I'm just here to give it a resonance frequency so that it
Yeah.
gets resonated again. And then hopefully, as more people talk about this and more people realize that no, it's not the big P that we need to necessarily focus on. Yes, that might be the guiding light or the destination we want to go to, but it's really working on what we can work at every moment, right? And even our conversation regarding being comfortably uncomfortable, I think that's also working on it, right? Because if we're at that state, like you say, we must show some level of self-awareness. We must have done some self-love, self-care, and we have the capacity to grow into a better version of ourselves, right? And I think this is really what I would like to unlock rather than the chief purpose officer with the big P.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder though that if we really want to bring about this change, it's
Yes.
important to bring awareness in
Sure.
people about not looking at everything in the context of what I get out of this.
Yes.
It's a mind shift change from not what I can get out of it, but what can we get out of it?
Yes.
And this is driven a lot with an element of greed.
Yeah.
So when you look at corporates,
Yes.
ultimately the leaders sitting in corporate will look at how much revenue or how much profit we can gain from being in this role. And
Yes.
ultimately that's going to result with me getting better compensation as well,
Yes.
right? If it's about exploiting natural resources out there, exploiting natural resources because companies become more profitable, resulting with me becoming more profitable.
Yes.
So until and unless we don't manifest the whole idea of how can this collectively help us,
Yes.
it becomes all the more challenging. So it has to start at the individual level
Yes.
and we work our way up. Just like I was telling you earlier that a lot of my focus has been on working with individuals rather than changing a system and society. I think this is something that you've made such a good start that now you create an ecosystem of people that can influence this kind of thought process as well.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for pointing it out. And I humbly am here to serve and convene and hold space and time. And I think it's not my movement. I think it's our movement. And it's about not just lifting ourselves up, but lifting everyone up with us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I wish you good luck on this
Thank you.
mission.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so
I
much,
know
Suleman.
all of us are thrilled to be a part of this journey as well and play whatever roles we can.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You, Eugene, Nikon, and many others that are unnamed. And over time, I think they will step up and step in.
Yes.
And let's do this together. I think it'll be fun and I think it'll be rewarding. And I think it'll be life changing, both for ourselves and for society and humanity as a whole.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Suleman. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Andrew.